dependency injection and what is dependency injection in today's video. So let us open Google Chrome. In this ChatGPT, search for what is dependency injection in Android using Kotlin Hilt. So it is giving some response. Dependency injection is a design pattern used to manage and provide dependencies between objects. In Android, Hilt is a DI framework built on top of Dagger that simplifies DI by providing components and annotations to manage dependencies throughout your app. Hilt in Android using Kotlin. So basically, uh, dependency injection is a design pattern which is used to manage and provide dependent objects. So dependent objects are like parameters and properties which can be injected from one area of our project to another area. So we can do this in Android by using a Hilt library which is used for dependency injection, and Hilt is recommended DI solution in Android. So there are also other kind of dependency injection libraries in Android like Dagger 2, and other also. So we have some other components in Android like activities, fragments, services, and view models. And when we use DI, then this much code is we can reduce our boilerplate code by using DI solution, dependency injection, and make the code more user friendly. So how our Hilt library works? What Hilt library do is Hilt library automatically generates some Dagger components in our build file. So let us open Android Studio. So here I have opened a DI dependency object project, dependency injection project using Hilt library in Android. So I will explain this project which I have built coded recently. I'm going to explain usage of Hilt dependency injection. So how Hilt works. So basically, there are several points by which we can explain how Hilt works and serve the dependency injection. First is component. Hilt automatically generate Dagger components for different Android classes like activity and fragment. So whenever we use Hilt library in our build folder, it generates components uh, like activities and fragments for different classes. Like activities is also a type of class in Android project. Fragment is also a type of class in Android project. And similarly, we have other classes like models and other view models. So it generates components for every kind of classes in our Android project. Modules. Hilt uses modules to define how dependencies are provided. So, and modules are annotated with provides and binds to tell Hilt how to create and inject dependency. So several annotations is also required in Hilt. Hilt also provide a scope like singleton and activity scope, etc., which we will describe in detail in our further videos. So there are some, despite of some huge amount of annotations, there are few main annotations whenever creating an Android project and using the Hilt library to perform the dependency injection to reduce the boilerplate code and uh, creating some user-friendly code. So first annotation is at the rate Hilt Android app. This is the basic initial annotation which we use in our dependency injection project in Hilt. So this annotation is applied to the application class to initialize the Hilt. So this is the first annotation which we use to uh, initialize the Hilt library in our Android project. And second annotation is Android entry point. Every annotation is big. Every annotation begins with at the rate, and this Android entry point is applied to activities, fragments, or other Android classes to inject into them. So basically, at the rate Android entry point is applied to activities, fragments, which in which we want to inject the dependencies. Like we want to inject every time we want to inject our dependencies into our activities, fragments, or other classes because we want the properties of our utility classes or API calls or other variables into our activities of fragments because we would always show our data into activities and fragments from other classes. So therefore, we use at the rate Android entry point annotation here. Third one is at the rate inject. This annotation is used to request dependencies in a class, constructor, or field. So this third one at the rate inject is used to request dependencies in a class, constructor, or field. So let us suppose we have a class and we want to request dependencies. Like let me show you this in this project by using this project. Here we have a class at the item group activity. You can see it here. So I have used here at the rate Android entry point because it is a class, and we have also discussed earlier that at the rate and entry Android entry point annotation is always applied to activities class or other Android classes to inject dependencies into them. So we want to inject some dependency into item group activity. Therefore, we have defined this annotation Android entry point before defining the class. So what it will do, it will generate some components into our build folder. Let us check the build folder generated, and here build in source folder kpt. So here we can see in view folder similar project structure which is in our source code. In build folder also we can see the same item group activity, built item group activity, and this is the component of our item group activity class. So this automatically generated components is used to reduce the boilerplate code, and this is the advantage whenever we want to use wherever we want to use our item group activity dependent of dependencies, we can use this dependency injection framework and simply get all the variables and other properties into any part of our code. So this is the biggest advantage of using Hilt dependency injection library or any other dependency injection library like Dagger, Dagger 2, etc. in our Android project using Kotlin. Similarly, at the rate inject, so inject is always used to request dependency in a class or constructor field. So in view model, we want to request the dependency. So in API service, We want dependency of API service. So we are using at the rate inject annotation here, and we have received the API service dependencies. And you can see we can get API service method item group list here by using the dependency injection. Now next one is module. Let us search for this keyword in our project. So in our network module project, network module class, basically let me explain this class to you first. This class is basically used for handling the network part of our application. Here we have defined the retrofit base URL of our API using the retrofit library, which is used for networking in Android projects. And we are getting this class by defining it as a module in our dependency injection methodology. So also provides. So provides is always used inside a module. So provide is used for telling how to create a dependency. So provide is telling that first of all create a singleton. Now singleton annotation. Then this annotation is used to specify that the provided dependency should have a single instance throughout the app lifecycle. So it should have a single instance. So provide retrofit must have a single instance throughout the application. So that is why at the singleton annotation is used here. So provide is always used before singleton because it is telling how to create the dependency. So at the rate installing annotation in Hilt is used to specify which Hilt component a module is installed into. It controls the lifecycle and scope of the provided dependency. So it is controlling the scope. So it is singleton class, singleton component. Now I have explained you all the annotation and their usage in Hilt dependency injection library in Android. Now let me check. Now close the build folder, which is automatically generated in whenever we use the Hilt framework or design pattern. Postman is open. Let us close the Postman. So for using the dependency injection, let me explain some basic project to you. First of all, you have to in your build.gradle.kts, which is your Gradle file, app level Gradle file, you have to add this much dependencies. For Hilt, you have to add only this dagger Hilt implementation, this dependency, dagger Hilt dependency, and Hilt compiler KAPT, and only these two dependencies you have to add, and also you have to add this Kotlin KAPT and dagger Hilt into your plugins. So I will mention all these dependencies required for setting up basic dagger Hilt project in the description of this video. So you can just copy paste from there. Also, you need to add this one KPT correct error types too. And in your project level build.gradle.kts, you have to add this plugin, which is for Dagger Hilt version 2.51.1. Make sure you have to add the correct version of the Kotlin version and Hilt version for ensuring that they are compatible with each other or interoperable. Now let us move to project. I'm now telling you how to create a basic project in our next video. So in this video, I have described you the basic introduction of Hilt and the dependency injection and why the Dagger framework or Hilt framework is used for dependency injection in Android, and what is the advantages that it reduces the boilerplate code, and we can inject the dependable objects into any part of the code by using some annotations and using the Hilt framework in Android. Thanks for watching this video, and just subscribe our channel, like the video, and leave your comments if you have any doubts in the description.